So good evening, everybody. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Welcome to the August 19th meeting of the Community Redevelopment Agency for the City of Temple Terrace. First order of business, council members or board members, is the consideration of minutes from our previous meeting on May 20th. Has everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes, and if so, is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any corrections or additions to the minutes? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No nays. The minutes are adopted. Next is a consideration of proposed final site plan for SPR 25-01 for Barriga Pediatrics at 234 Bullard Parkway, and our senior planner, Alyssa Livingstone, is here to present. Good evening.
Good evening.
1 second, Mayor, just
Yes.
before we start, I think we have an ex parte disclosure on this one.
Yes.
Okay, well then,
If I may, I just want to disclose an ex parte communication with, I believe it was Julia Grande, last week regarding this item. It was simply hi, we're coming before council and the CRA next week. If you have any questions, please let me know. But that's all that was discussed.
okay.
Okay?
Well, we might as well do a poll of the council then. I've had none.
I've had none.
I mean, the only thing on this item would be the ribbon cutting that's scheduled for me, but otherwise, no conversation.
All right, very well, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mueller. So, all right, Ms. Livingston, back to you.
This is a brief presentation to request the CRA Board's approval to advance this site plan application for consideration at City Council. Staff is requesting CRA Board approval to advance this site plan for a one-story pediatric facility to the City Council for consideration. The subject property is within the redevelopment area and is currently zoned as commercial office. The surrounding area contains developed commercial and residential properties. The proposed project will be preserving an existing historic building. There will be an expansion to the rear of it. The Planning Commission has reviewed the site plan and has found it to be consistent with the city's comprehensive plan. The white unshaded area to the center bottom of the image near the pond represents the historic portion of the structure that will be preserved.
Yeah.
The gray shaded area represents the non-historic addition to the rear of it that will be removed to make way for the pediatric expansion. If approved by this board, more details will be expounded on at the City Council meeting. If found to be acceptable, I'd like to request that the board approves by a motion to advance the site plan to the City Council for consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Livingstone. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Being none, council members, are there questions? Board members, sorry, are there questions?
No.
Okay, if there are no questions, is there a motion?
Yes. Move to approve to the city council, move to the city council meeting the consideration of site plan SPR 25-04 for the pediatrics building at 234 Bullard Parkway.
Second.
Motion and a second, is there discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the site plan is adopted, and we'll go to city council at our next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
So next up, consideration for proposals to purchase and develop properties located on Temple Terrace redevelopment area. Community Development Director Greg Pauley will introduce the presenters. And I do have a question before you start. In the past, we have done and I don't recall because it's been a little while now, we've done the full presentation at one meeting or the other, but not at both.
That's correct.
How are we going to do this tonight?
Well, part of my introduction will kind of explain that a little bit.
Okay.
And if you still have questions pending, I'll be happy to come back and drill down a little more on those.
Okay, thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Pauley.
Once again, this is an item that involves proposal summaries. Our brokers from Florida ROI are here tonight to present a summary of 3 proposals to purchase and develop properties in the redevelopment area. We've received 2 proposals for the property located at 8901 North 56th Street and 1 proposal for the property located at 8447 North 56th Street. The summary presentation that you will see tonight in this meeting will be led by our brokerage team from Florida ROI and will not include individual project presentations. However, the developers for both projects are in the audience tonight and are available to respond to specific questions regarding their projects. Projects found to be suitable for further consideration may be referred to the City Council and presented in greater detail at tonight's City Council meeting, immediately following this meeting. At that time, sir, you all will be able to see the entire developer presentation for any project that is referred beyond this meeting. In order for the project to be referred, I'd like to recommend that the board approve by motion to refer such project or projects to the City Council for further consideration. Any project referred to council will be presented in detail by the individual developers at tonight's City Council meeting. If the board does not find any of the proposals suitable for further consideration, the board is under no obligation to refer any of the projects viewed tonight. In this case, I'd like to recommend that no referrals be made. And now I'd like to pause for just a moment and entertain questions on the review process.
Board members, questions on the process for this meeting? No. Councilmember Kravitz.
So just to clarify, we're not under any obligation to put any of these proposals into the city council agenda. We can always say no or refer back to the people who have submitted proposals, request them to make improvements in this committee before it proceeds further.
The action that we're requesting of this board in this meeting is to, if this board finds any of the proposals acceptable for further consideration, to refer them to the council for full presentations. Projects that are not referred will not be presented in their entirety.
So if we find a project to be interesting but not ready to proceed to city council, we can instruct the developer in this meeting to make improvements to their proposal.
That's not the general protocol for this meeting. This meeting is either a thumbs up or a thumbs down type decision. Those discussions are very common at the city council meeting.
So if we don't like the proposal here, it's simply no thank you, and then this is essentially a closed bid procedure where they are giving their best possible offer, putting their best foot forward here in this committee in an effort to proceed, and if we don't like what they've done, it dies.
If it doesn't pass this board, it doesn't go further.
And they can always come back again later?
They can always come back again later.
Thanks. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Pauly.
Okay, very well. At this time, I would like to turn the podium over to our brokerage team, Mr. Eric Odom and Mr. John Lochner from Florida ROI.
Good evening.
Evening. Appreciate the time again to make a presentation to you guys. John, do we have the presentation? Okay, there we go. Just want to talk a little bit in terms of what John and I are going to discuss. We're going to go through each one of the proposals because there's actually 3 proposals from 2 different development groups. One of the groups is going to make a proposal on both 8901 and the south parcel at 8447. We're going to go through each one of them one at a time by each one of the proposals at each one of the 2 groups. And then first I'm going to talk about 30,000 foot level in terms of concept. And then John, my partner Lochner, will go over the specific on each one of the deals and the deal structure. The groups are here. So Greg, I believe that they'll be able to ask questions directly to it, right, correct. So if there's operationally related issues or about anything beyond just 30,000 foot conceptual, I would ask that you make those questions towards the groups because, again, from John's perspective and we're looking at it really from a 30,000 foot level of what is a real estate deal, how is it going to work, and then how is it structured. So, John, is there anything you want to add about that? Okay. So let's go ahead and start with 8901. 8901 is Smith and Hensey. Smith and Hensey was founded in 2014. They've created or preserved over 8,000 affordable housing units nationwide, representing about $2.5 billion in development. They're known for partnering successfully with municipalities around the country, mostly in New York and in Florida. They are Florida-based, and they've done it, I believe, also in Connecticut as well. Most of what they're working on is workforce housing and senior housing. So we're looking at 8901 now, and this is a multifamily retail parcel with ground floor. On the ground floor would be retail. On the upper floors would be housing. They've demonstrated a track record of doing this type of development in the past, and what they're looking for in terms of components is the 3080 AMI on this. And for you guys who know from HUD, it's essentially an affordable housing project. Is there anything else you wanted to highlight on that? Nope. Okay. John, you want to talk a little bit about specs?
Sure. So I'll just go into some of the specifics of each of the proposals. This is, of course, is the 8901 Smith and Hensey Affordable Group's offer. Purchase price is $22,500 per unit for approximately 80 units, or $1.8 million. The initial deposit of $5,000, feasibility deposit $20,000, and the final deposit of $25,000. The inspection or feasibility period on this is 180 calendar days from contract execution. Approval period is until December 31st, 2027. And the closing will be the earlier of 365 calendar days following approval period, or December 31st, 2028. As Eric mentioned, this is senior affordable housing with retail on the ground floor.
So moving on to 8447, again, this is Smith and Hensey, and this is affordable housing. The proposal is for affordable housing, no retail on the ground floor. Continues their mission of addressing local housing needs through municipal collaboration. It's also on the 3080 AMI proposal. And John, you want to talk a little bit about specs?
Sure. Very similar offer. This is $10,000 per unit for 80 units, $5,000 initial deposit, $20,000 feasibility deposit, $25,000 final deposit, 180 calendar days from contract execution is the feasibility period. The approval period is until December 31st, 2027, and the closing will be the earlier of 365 calendar days following approval period, or December 31st, 2028. And as Eric mentioned, this is senior affordable housing with no retail.
So I don't know, from the board's perspective, if you would like, at this point, if you have questions for us about Smith and Hensey, or you think, John, it's better we just roll through the...
Let's
Keep
go
rolling,
through
keep
all of
rolling.
it,
Okay,
and
fair
then we
enough.
can circle back.
Fair enough, okay. So the other proposal is from Blazing Paddles. It's on the 8901, the northern parcel. And the concept is a pickleball facility with restaurant and bar. It's not a housing project. It's purely commercial recreational use, entertainment use. And it's very distinct from Smith and Hensey's on their affordable housing proposal. Obviously, completely different type of a concept. This is not a chain. This would be their first location. And the group has assembled a team of experts that would help them not only on the development side, but also on the restaurant and bar operational side.
Okay. The specifics of this offer are a purchase price of $1.4 million with an initial deposit of $100,000. The inspection examination period is 45 calendar days from contract execution. There is a financing period of 60 calendar days from contract execution, and obviously those are concurrent. And the closing would be 15 calendar days after approved financing and removal of all contingencies. And it looks like there's something misspelled there. This is, as Eric mentioned, a pickleball restaurant bars. And then for comparison, here are all three proposals. any questions.
Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this at this point? No, council members' questions. Councilmember Kravitz.
As experienced commercial realtors, do you have any thoughts about adding additional retail space in an area where there are already considerable retail vacancies, for example, at fountain shops?
What we had originally talked about in terms of our agenda moving forward was to include retail in everything that we're doing. So this was not, we knew that 8901 was not the intent of the board, the council, to have a housing-only facility. So we're making this proposal with the idea of having retail on the ground floor.
Okay, so it's not your understanding that at the last meeting, we wanted to go in a direction of a community amenity or a more multi-use space that could attract people to downtown with, for example, a small public use component combined with whatever enterprise might be entertained by the investor, with a preference, this is my recollection, I'm just seeing if you understood it that way as well, for, actually I can quote here from your bid proposal, it was by enhancing recreational opportunities, drawing new visitors, and stimulating local economic activity. So is there a recreational component or like new visitor draw component to this that Temple Terrace downtown already does not have in the form of, for example, retail space?
Well, that certainly could be something in the retail aspect that we could make specifications on a retail consumer that might fit that bill. Yeah.
I'm just trying to understand whether this brings anything new to the table that we don't already have, because my understanding is we already have retail units available.
Mm-hmm.
Is that also your understanding, that this is essentially providing additional retail? Is there something special about these retail units that I'm missing?
Well, the retail is spec retail, so we're able to, it's somewhat malleable in terms of what we want to do and what the public might want. So it's leaving that component open for trying to fit, backfill, but essentially what you're trying to accomplish.
Okay. With affordable housing of this nature, I'm not asking you to advise on this, but you might have experience from it in it with other projects. Is there a tax impact to the city that might engender from having so many affordable housing units, to the best of your knowledge?
I'm sorry, I can't answer that question.
Okay, I yield the floor, thank you.
Other questions? Councilmember Chambers.
And I apologize if this is a very simple answer that I don't get. Between projects 1 and 2, one is purchase price of $22,000 per unit, and the other one $10,000 per unit. Other than size of the units, what's the difference? And that may be for the developers.
That's probably more for the developer, but I imagine it has something to do with the retail.
Could someone just answer real quick on that?
I think I'm the rep.
Yep.
Okay.
Just hide in the back, see what comes out.
We just need your name on the record, please,
No
sir.
problem. Jake Zoneman with Smith & Hensley Affordable Group. The delta in the prices is really just location. One is on the main street, the other is a little bit more complex in terms of the layout and functionality. And also a little bit of what I've understood, recommendations from the board and assessed value. Really, we are mainly affordable workforce housing developers, and so either one can work, but that's the delta in terms of the price points, and we're just acknowledging the value of the more Main Street location along with the extra retail, as John mentioned. So,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
I have a question. On both proposals concerning housing, you mentioned 30 to 80% AMI, but you said senior affordable living. But in the backup material, it doesn't restrict this strictly to seniors. Is this senior affordable living, or is this affordable living that includes seniors but also includes other people?
I'll stay up here. No, so without delving too far into the LIHTC realm and how it all works, effectively, 30% AMI up to 80% are all considered affordable. I think you hit the nail on the head. Initially, we kind of proposed that more senior, but when we revisited and presented the more backup information, specifically the Main Street, the 8901, that's more open to probably a workforce community. So just 30 to 80% AMI would be the flexibility there. The smaller lot, the 8447 lot, would be more for senior housing. But I think the main one, we're thinking that's more of a workforce, 30 to 80%. And as it pertains to the retail, which I know was mentioned, really that's just a little bit what we understood, potential direction of the board. For us, that space is extremely malleable, as Eric mentioned, so we'd love to give back in any way we can, and that's not really part of our underwriting, as it has to be some use. We'd be more looking to the board for things that could, bring more visitors and be of more public service. So, thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? Okay.
Are these directed questions to the developer right now or to the realtor?
Sure, you can, sure.
Then I'd like to ask the developer a couple questions. Hi. So first of all, thanks very much for considering an investment in Temple Terrace. This is an incredibly important space for the city, and it's really important that we nail it and really get it right. But I appreciate you putting the proposal together and for taking an interest in the city. So thank you very much for coming by and also for answering questions, which is not always easy. So my question to you is similar to the one I just asked of our realtor. Do you plan on obtaining a property tax exemption by the construction of this, or do you plan to pay property taxes on it as if it were a commercial property, as a typical multifamily development?
Right now, with the Live Local Act and some of the other laws in place, we do have the ability to go for a property tax exemption, so we likely would. And yeah, I mean, that's the current laws in place, so we probably would look for that.
Yeah, you have to understand it's quite difficult for the city to absorb a hit because we have calculated TIF funds based on certain property tax revenues from the downtown area. And if we don't obtain those, then those revenues are going to be in jeopardy. So that would become a long-term fiscal problem for the city.
Yeah, so splitting the two properties in tandem, the one that probably would be exclusive for seniors, a smaller lot, we definitely look for it there. On the larger lot, or the more Main Street one, let's call it, I don't think there'd be a way for us to seek that on, the bottom portion. So we could, there's a million different legal ways that we could do it and have done it, and in many different developments and communities we built. So probably condo that out in some way, and that would have some form of TIF revenue like you're talking about. But ultimately, we probably would seek that.
Yeah. Is there a reason why you didn't include a community amenity? Was that not communicated to you by the broker when you went to them, or did you not see it? Did you see no opportunity to fit it into your plan?
No. Well, are we talking about each one, or just which specific on the 8901?
Right now, I'm only talking about 8901. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, honestly, we received a lot of different feedback that we were trying to nail and figure out, and we are housing developers, so I don't want to go around that. That's our main proposal. But in terms of the base, we felt like there were lots of different ways that something could be fit. Wanted to come, have the chance to meet with the board, discuss it. So right now, we have community amenities baked in there, kind of back of house, all things we do in our typical communities, gyms, media centers, movie rooms, etc. And then the quote-unquote retail space, as I said, I'm with you. I've driven the area many times, familiar with it. We're building development over in Riverview. I don't know necessarily that there needs to be more retail, but I understood maybe a goal of destination retail. And so those areas, we'd more than be happy to look to the CRA and say, hey, what are the existing local businesses that need support, and how can we work in tandem with them? How can we make these in more communal spaces? So we're very open to all of that. I want to be clear about our housing intent, but in terms of those spaces, we're open to your suggestion. And who wasn't able to be here with me tonight is one of our local partners, pastor at a church, and we spoke a lot about many of the different elements that exist here, but I'd hate to just put something without hearing your feedback. So those areas are totally open, and we could fit them in the needs of this community. So
Thanks for answering my questions. I yield the floor.
all right, thank you.
Questions?
I do have one more.
Okay.
A different group.
Councilmember Chu, I have some questions for the other group also, so. Councilmember Chambers.
Thank you. For the Blazing Paddles group, are y'all here? Hey, hi. Okay. In the presentation, it was mentioned that this is the first project this group is doing. Is there any links to the projects that Tampa just did, some of the warehouse conversions downtown, or some of the area different projects like this that are, taking off?
So Jed Wooderick,
Steve Daniluk.
thanks for taking.
And before you answer, good name too, Blazing Paddles.
Blazing
I like
Paddles,
it.
yeah.
Thank you.
Also
Okay.
known as Courtside Group. So there's no direct connection with the competitors in the space. So you have Tampa Pickleball Crew and Ybor. There's the St. Pete Athletic Club. but there are specific vendors for those places that we are partnering with from like a court building standpoint and different amenities that we're going to offer, but no direct connection.
Okay, that answered it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I wouldn't go anywhere. Other questions, council members? I have a few. Mr. Pauly, can you put the slide back up that shows the side-by-side potential site plans for the pickleball facility? Yes, that one. So, gentlemen, I have a couple questions about this. One, I was looking at this in our software on my small computer screen. It's really hard to see some of this. I believe what we're looking at is the diagram on the left is your preferred arrangement, and the diagram on your right is your possible but not preferred arrangement. So can you tell us on the image on the left, where is the restaurant and bar and where is the outdoor concert music space that is alluded to in the backup materials?
Yeah, so the image on the left is our preferred design. The image on the right actually isn't a preference at all. It was just to kind of show what the building would look like if the parking was in the back. But on the left, the restaurant and the bar, I wish I could come up there and
We
point
have
for
a
you.
pointer up there. Can you show me?
Oh.
It won't work on the. It doesn't work well. That's
So
right.
you see the middle of the parking lot, and then the white area that juts out to the left, that is your kind of central hub to the entire experience. So you have your restaurant and bar and seating areas there. At the very bottom of the image to the left, that is open yard area where we would have live music. We'd have social games like cornhole, shuffleboard, and just like seating areas. But that's kind of like the open space where we would have that. And then you have kind of surrounding that outdoor courts. And then inside the building in the white space, you have 6 indoor courts as well.
As well as a mezzanine at the top for gamification bays.
So the restaurant and bar is kind of like the rectangular in the very center, like right off the parking lot. That's what you walk
Correct.
into?
Exactly. You're walking directly into that.
Okay, the outdoor area, looks like you would walk out there and then there's 3 pickleball courts. And then you'd walk beyond that and that's where the seating area, the concert area, outdoor area would be.
Correct.
Correct.
So in that space, if you had an event out there, it's hard to tell how big it is, but I mean, if you had an event out there, would there be food and drink service available out there during these events?
Absolutely. So we would have satellite bars and like food kind of vendors, not vendors, but places to buy food directly outside for sure.
One of the key parts of our design when we were actually building this is trying to create a seamless experience that flowed completely together. And so when you walk in sort of that central hub that Jed was talking about, there's a little area when you come out as well that would be like an outdoor entertainment space that leads out into the courts and into that entire area. So the restaurant bar area would be accessible from every aspect of this design.
It was really important for us that the amenities were all really accessible for the player, not only to drive revenue, but to have a frictionless experience for the players and the customers that come. The image on the right kind of shows what it would look like to have to access from one court all the way to the bar. The foot traffic and the distance you'd have to walk might minimize the amount of time that someone's spending at the venue.
Okay, I have some further questions, but I'm hoping that we'll get to talk in the city council meeting, and I don't want to drag you through detailed questions twice, so. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Other questions? Oh, Councilmember Kravitz.
I do have a few questions. Thank you. Same as I said before, thank you very much for considering Temple Terrace. I wanted to ask, one of the criteria that were in the bid list was evidence of previous successful projects. I was just curious, you list 4 of them here. What work did you do at Florida College?
So our team here is actually actively involved, and they're here today. So our architects are the Soul Design Studio, and our general contractor would be the Franklin Development Group, and they are actively involved in the Florida College space. So as we walked in and saw the picture of it here on the wall, we were just talking about how it was just torn down and being rebuilt. So when we kind of set out on this process, it was critical for us to find the best of the best in their fields of design and general contracting, but it was also critical to find people that had experience working in this community, that knew Temple Terrace, so that we can have a successful project here.
Oh, so you acquired your own architectural and general contracting firms?
We did not acquire, but we are partnering with them and have worked with them for many months at this point to bring this vision to life.
So then if I'm not mistaken, you haven't worked at Florida College, the people you hired have?
Correct.
Okay, and is that true for these other 3 projects too?
Correct.
Okay, so you have not completed any projects successfully? Okay. So this is your first project?
This is our
This is our
first
first
project,
project,
which is
correct.
why it was so important to get a strong team behind us.
Yeah, absolutely. So if this is your first project, how do you have $8 million? Because I didn't start out with an $8 million project when I got into real estate.
Very fair. A lot of this might get covered in the presentation as well, so happy to answer now. But Steve and I have worked together for almost a decade now in ed tech and helped scale a business from 0 to $750 million within 4 years. And so we would be self-funding this with our own capital. We'd have a mix of an SBA loan to maintain a strong ownership, but we also have a team of investors that's currently on the sidelines that are committed, but we haven't made anything official yet because we want to know that this project is going to move forward.
I might have skipped over a few things there, but it sounded to me like you just said that you sold a company for $750 million. Is that how you have the
Part
money
of
for this
scaling the
project?
company.
Yeah.
Okay, then if you have $750 million, why did you arrive at a price that's $600,000 under the one that we listed for?
We helped
we
scale. We helped scale the business to 750. We did not sell it, so we were not like the direct owners of that.
We were
We
part
do
of,
not
we were
have
part of the,
750.
we were part of the executive team
Got it.
that took a company from startup to being acquired for $750 million. Jed and I both had equity in those companies.
So one of the things we asked for in the proposal requirements was a summary of the applicant's most recent personal and/or corporate financial statement to show sufficient liquidity for a project of this kind. How much money do you have for this in total? Like how much liquid money do you have in a bank account to execute this project?
We are personally putting in over $300,000 apiece, so that's $600,000. We have investment on the side for $1.2 million for a small equity stake in the business, and then we're pursuing the SBA loan. If for some reason the SBA loan is slowed down, which we've been working with the bank since early on in this project when considering where to bring it, we have the opportunity, it's not the preference, to raise full capital for the full project.
So you have $600,000 on a project that's going to be $8 million, so you're bringing in 7.5% equity, which is less than I've used to purchase any property that I've ever owned.
Which is why we mentioned the 1.2 million in equity stake that would be part of the project.
Okay, if you obtain that, you don't have that secured yet.
I would say we have verbal commitments. We have it secure, but again, we're not going to make it official with those investors until we have a project here.
In your proposal here, you say that you plan to be the Topgolf of pickleball, and I just got curious and looked around a little bit about Topgolf, and I found out that they lost $1.5 billion in the last quarter of last year. So is that really going to be your model?
I mean, they're also a $5 billion organization, so it is a concept of Topgolf, but it is not exactly Topgolf.
Yeah.
And pickleball is one of the fastest growing sports in the country right now. So what we're doing is bringing a unique vision and concept to pickleball so that it's not just the pickleball game. There are game bays and opportunities to engage in a social setting. So you could go with a group of friends, have food, have drinks, but play pickleball. That is kind of the concept and what we mean by Topgolf of pickleball.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that. It's not the part where they lose money. That's all my questions.
Certainly not,
Thank you
but
much.
we would get into this.
I yield the floor.
Thank you so much for your time.
Other questions?
Well, questions for us?
Okay, well, the discussion?
Yes.
Okay. Are there questions for the brokers or applicants? Okay, seeing none, council members' discussion. Councilmember Fernandez.
What I'd like to just clarify is the process. How do we recommend what projects we would like to see in more detail at the city council meeting?
So that's a very good question, thank you. So what happens at this meeting is this board takes a vote to either advance one or all three of the projects for consideration to the city council at our meeting later. We are not voting at this body to accept the proposal, we're just voting to hear it as the city council, which is why we aren't asking a lot of detailed questions here, because if we're going to talk to them later, we don't want to have two separate presentations. Even at the city council meeting later, if we vote to move one forward. All the details that you saw on there about the selling, the buying offer, the terms, the days, the contract days, all that stuff, we would not be approving that tonight, even as city council. We would be, at that point, if the council desires, to make a motion to approve our staff to enter into discussions with the broker and the developer, then all those terms that we see here are subject to legal review and subject to staff's, right, getting with them to talk. So, a motion later would not be to, yeah, we're gonna sell it for that price under these terms. We wouldn't be getting it that contract would come back to us at a later date for approval.
So we would be agreeing, if we do, to enter into further negotiation.
Correct.
In order to come back to council later with an actual agreement to be accepted or
That's
declined.
correct. That's correct. So at the stage of this meeting right now, the vote, if there is one, the motion would simply be to move one or all three at the council's pleasure to our next meeting for further discussion. If we do that, if we moved one or all three to that, then we would have a much more in-depth presentation on each one of these. If at this point we vote not to move a particular project forward, then that's it. We won't hear from them again unless they come back with a future proposal. So, okay, that makes sense? Okay. So other discussion?
Discussion or just commented?
Well, discussion or a motion, whichever is preferred.
I would like to make a motion that we bring proposal number 3 for the was it Blazing Paddles project forward to the Courtside project to the full council for discussion.
Second that.
Any discussion? Seeing none?
I've got one, excuse me.
Oh, I'm sorry, Councilmember Kravitz.
I don't feel it's a good idea because they've missed the mark on several of the important criteria that we gave our realtors previously, namely to have some previous experience, to have secured financing, because we don't want to run into a situation where the developer walks off the job and it isn't finished or it's delivered in a different form than we want because they run into financing. And we have a situation here where they don't even have their equity together, let alone financing for the other $8 million that they're planning to spend for a business model that seems to be in dire straits right now. Callaway is spinning off Topgolf. This is obviously reminiscent of Topgolf, and also we're competing with our own recreational facilities that we just built in Temple Terrace, which is pickleball courts. So several pickleball courts were just built at a rec center to replace other forms of recreation that we previously had there. So I think we're not gaining anything from this really, and it doesn't meet the standard of the bid that we outlined. So I don't know why we'd let it through. That's kind of where I'm at with that one. But I think it's cool that we're getting interest, and I think it's also cool that we've got at least something that might potentially be a draw, right? Like this is at least something that like draws people to downtown in theory, and it also doesn't have the community space though, unfortunately, which I think is really important to that area, that we give pedestrians a reason to walk around, where there could be music, where there could be food trucks, events, something like that. So this doesn't really conflict with that, but it does eat up that space that could be used for that. It doesn't really leave us any options there, so.
I'm in favor of the motion just because there's questions we didn't get into. I don't know ultimately whether I'd be in favor of it or not, but that's the purpose of discussing it in depth at the council meeting. So I would vote with you to move that forward, but.
So I do understand what you're talking about. I would like to hear more about the proposal, just from my own experience with the 30-ish age group and younger. I know that they love to go to places and play games and do activities, and I know that even though we have recently added pickleball as our recreation, that the level of growth in the pickleball area is extreme. And so I would like to hear more about the presentation, not saying that I will agree to it or not, but just hear more about the project, just because viability, I know that it's as something it's very attractive to people who would activate the space. But again, I totally agree, it's not necessarily what I would hope for in the public space activation and recreation, but I would like to hear about the project, so that's why I would agree to move it forward.
Councilmember Chambers, anything?
No.
Okay, we have a motion, second, any?
Quick comment on that. I totally get it, and a lot of sympathy for that. My only concern is once it gets to city council, it's on the agenda, it's gonna come back again and again. It sort of develops a dynamism that it doesn't really have right now. And if I'm honest, my preference would be to just say, no thanks, go and submit another bid, because they can do that, and then they can submit a bid that meets our criteria. So like they can figure out what their financing is gonna be, they can get that equity investor that they're talking to sign on. Maybe then that equity investor even comes here and introduces himself, because he's gonna be the majority partner. That's the other thing. Like if they're getting what was it? They're getting 600,000 together with two people, then the other person's bringing the other, I guess, 800,000, I think. So that makes 1.4. So the other person would have actually a majority share in that from the get-go. So we're not even talking to the person who's going to be the owner of the project. So that's also kind of an issue for me. I just feel like, come on back next time, bring your better proposal, and then we'll go from there before we let them through the gates. So that's my personal preference, but, they can still improve it later. I'm just kind of skeptical that they will once they've already gotten into the process.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay. Motion carries. We'll see you at the council meeting. Mr. Pauly, anything other business to come before the CRA?
First of all, I'd like to thank you all for your time and attention to what staff considers a very significant and serious matter, and that is continued development within our CRA. I would like to thank all of the representatives that have come tonight to present before you, or at least to field your questions. Coming up at the 6 o'clock meeting, the project that you have referred will be queued up when that time is right, and they will be at the podium presenting their presentation to you at that time.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Pauly.
Thank you.
Chairman,
Yes, Vice Mayor Schisler.
yes, thank you. I didn't think it was appropriate for the discussion at the time of the motion because it really wasn't related to the motion. But my problem with the other projects was the going forward of tax exemption. That creates a significant issue for the city going forward. The affordable housing moniker that would be attached to it, at least in the general public, in my mind, would not really fly. It would be a difficult decision. I know you guys put a lot of work into it, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate the fact that you brought it back, and our brokers, gives us a flavor. We told you to go out and get some people, and you come back, and now this is our back and forth where we're fine-tuning what we're looking for, because it's an iterative process. So nothing against the projects, just don't really fit where our vision is for that area. But I'm looking forward to hearing more about the Blazing Paddles.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Pauly. Our meeting will be adjourned, and we will reconvene at 6 o'clock.